Okay, go ahead, Rabbi Sher.
Okay, so this is really exciting. We are starting the 15th chapter from Shara Yichud. We are going to be learning the lesson from the previous metaphors. And um, there are the concept of contemplation in Hasidus is that we compare the metaphors because each metaphor has a lesson and has a unique lesson and it has weaknesses. So the only way we can clarify those is by comparing various metaphors. And usually the metaphors that come earlier are more of the main metaphors, and then you have secondary metaphors that come afterwards. And so far, what we've seen is that there are 5 metaphors for the beginning of creation before Tzimtzum, before even creation. There are 5 metaphors for the contraction. There are 5 metaphors for Rishimo, which is the logo, which is going to lead on to creation. There are 5 metaphors in the ruler, which is going to measure out all the energies that are necessary to it's like the programming behind the process of creation, the programming. Each level needs a certain amount of definition, and the ruler is going to measure out that definition and going to measure out the energy, is going to measure out any potential, what are the capabilities are going to be of this level, and what the level exactly is, how much energy the level actually has at any given time. So today, when we're going to look at the text, we're going to start reading the lesson, and you're going to find out some very interesting things. And one of the interesting things is that if we look at records of written records of thousands of years ago, we find that people seem to be a little bit different than we are now. Not that human nature changed, but the physical capabilities of people are is sometimes beyond our capabilities. People's reflexes were more developed at certain times in history, and people's strength, they were able to do certain things that we can't do anymore. And we'll find out why that is, because if you just follow the what we're taught in school, that things develop and it's the survival of the fittest, then it doesn't really explain why at certain times people seem to be physically more developed than we are now. And how exactly does that work? And we're going to find out why that is from learning inside. As we're waiting to get the text up, I'm going to just summarize the previous metaphors. There are 5 metaphors before Tzimtzum, and our goal is always to pray, to be able to direct our prayers to the essence before Tzimtzum. And the way we direct our prayers is we have to cancel out all the levels. So when we can basically recognize, um, we can recognize the levels, and then we can mentally cancel them out as being only a level, then that helps us to pray only to the essence of Hashem. So there are 5 metaphors before Tzimtzum. The first metaphor is the idea of a birthday party. For example, we explained it as a birthday party when a person gets a task with a certain mission, and you think they're only accomplishing kindness, but when they actually have to implement the mission, all sorts of different types of emotions, focus and balance, and the person needs to be creative, and the person needs to um, be able to have emotional intelligence, recognize the truth. They have to be able to connect and attach, and they have to be able to communicate. All these different types of emotions come out. And where did they come from? Well, obviously, it was in the potential of the person. So too, whatever comes out and gets revealed in the creation existed before in the essence of God. It was always there, but all in a potential state. And the second metaphor is the idea of movement, just like person has potential to move in all sorts of different ways, you have to say that it's in the soul of the person before they actually move. But those specific movements are not there. In other words, those specific emotions are not there. It's just this great big potential. And then we spoke about the potential of creating an internal representation of the outside world, seeing, hearing. It doesn't exist in the essence of soul, but only when it needs to, the soul manifests itself into a body, well, suddenly it's going to compartmentalize into 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 various um, um, it's going to compartmentalize into various um, abilities, but in the essence of the soul, there isn't. There's just the ability of awareness. It's not specifically seeing. It's not specifically hearing. It's the potential to be aware. And then we spoke about the fourth metaphor, which is the idea of the light spectrum. That in the essence of God, when you put something to refract the light, then you get a rainbow. But it's then you have to say that single light has all the different colors of the rainbow inside it. Of course, this is a weaker metaphor, but it's a physical one. And so too, in the essence of God, everything that's going to come out after the creation, all of history is there in a potential essence. And then we brought the fifth metaphor before Tzimtzum, is the ability to the power of growth. The power of growth, what the seed does is that it focuses that universal power of growth that a field could make a corn, could make a wheat crop, could make barley. That is always there. And what happens, this energy of the power of growth through the seed connects with something physical and only becomes a power of growth of wheat or of barley or of corn. So Tzimtzum is some sort of change, which is similar to the change of spirituality changing over to something physical, even though it's all spirituality, but it's a drastic change. And then we brought five metaphor for the concept of Tzimtzum. It's the idea of a teacher. Now, the Tzimtzum does not conceal God in any way at all. It's only our perception of God. So, for example, a teacher, when he teaches one line of a Mishnah, it has like 5-10 pages of commentary in the Talmud, very complex. So when he teaches that one line, he knows all those 5 pages. Is only the student is only hearing one line. So too, when God communicates and creates a world, he knows of the whole essence. It's just that only a little bit is apparent to us. And if we keep on listening to what God is communicating to us, slowly more of the essence becomes revealed. Then that's the first metaphor. The second metaphor is the power of the power of the body to give life to a certain limb, even if a certain limb is not there. That power hovers above the limb. So a person not only has the brain creates perception as if the limb is still there, but actually the soul, that the power of the limb is actually there in the soul of the person, and that is a reason why he's going to feel that he has that limb, even though there is no physical limb. So the same thing when God creates a contraction, the entire essence is there. It's just that it's not perceived. And the third metaphor is the power of growth, that the entire potential of growth is still there, even though there's only a seed for a specific type of growth. We have the fourth metaphor, even though when a person chooses to move in a certain way, the power to move in infinite other ways is still there all at the same time. So it's not a real concealment. It's not like a person stuck only with one movement and that's it. And the fifth metaphor is just because a person decides to do a math a math problem, doesn't mean that they can't think about music at the same time. They have the potential to think about other things and other skills, and besides the specific one that they've been thinking about. So just because God decides to create a world, he could be other things than a creator. It's still there at the same time. And then that's the five metaphor. And then we brought another five metaphor, the five metaphor of the Rishimu, which is basically the logo from which the world is going to be created. In order, the first one is basically a plan or a few marks on a piece of paper, encapsulate what the designer is going to be designing, even though nobody knows how to read the plan. So that's the world is like this little map that we don't know how to read, but God can, and the entire essence is hidden in this little map of this physical world. The second metaphor is like an acronym. The world is like an acronym, so the person who understands the code of the acronym, they see the entire picture. However, we can't. The world just looks like what it is on face value, but really there's something really big behind it. Another one is the idea of throwing something. When you throw something, it's flying in the air, you don't see the thrower, but there is a thrower. So the world looks like as if it like acts on its own, and this energy just moves the orbits, but really there is somebody that threw it, and we just need to trace it back to the creator, to the essence before creation. We're always tracing back to the essence. Um, then the fourth metaphor is the idea of a movement through which like a teacher makes a hand gesture in order that a person can understand the subject better. So the teacher knows the entire subject through the hand gesture. So that's what the world is. The world is like a hand gesture. The whole world is just like a one big hand gesture. It's a lesson that God's teaching us. It's hiding of the essence, but yet it could be used to reveal the essence if we have patience to listen. And the fifth metaphor is when the fingers move to drawing on a page, so you can actually trace back from the movement of the fingers to the letters of the page, and then from the letter of the page you can trace back to the meaning. So it's a double concealment. The world is a double concealment. That's one of the rules. It's called Malchus de Malchus, a revelation of a revelation. And so um, so that's what the world is. That's the Rishimu. And then last week we started to speak about how the Rishimu really creates the metrics for a kav, which is a ruler or a string, and and the the kav is basically the Rishimu. It expands into a metric system, which that is going to be the programming language for the creation of the world, the kav, which means ruler. And we brought like five metaphor again for that. And the first metaphor was that just that the potential of the soul to do all sorts of things before it moves into the body, it has this potential to be able to see and hear and smell and taste. It's all there, and that's like the ruler. They have it's a potential for all of creation. Like nowadays, they're using people studying the programming language C plus. So it's like that's what the ruler is. It's the he creates the rules for the later programming. It's everything's in potential. The second metaphor is the potential of growth. Potential of growth. It's all there, ready. When you put in the right seed and the right nutrients in the soil, it's just gonna grow. It's then potential to movement. Even it's just waiting there for a person to move in a specific way. That's what the kav is. That's what the ruler is. The potential to think. A person can just decide to think any subject they want to think, any genre, what's a genre, whatever, any topic area, and it's their potential. And then we have the fifth metaphor is when a student is listening to the teacher, he's busy taking in. And as long as you're busy taking in, you're not spitting out. So that's what the ruler is. The ruler is not measuring yet at this point in time, not measuring out creation. It's busy taking in the code from the Rishimel and preparing itself to measure out creation. That's so in other words, the Kav, the ruler, is busy like a student, soaking in from the teacher, soaking information from the teacher, and is not yet measuring things out. It's just it's all there in potential. So, Rabbi, can we bring up the text?
Yes, certainly.
So beautiful. Now we're going to use our right brain. See, when we do comprehension, we use our left brain, but now nimshal means the lesson. So the lesson will need some intuition to be able to do this. So let's go for it. Okay, Yuvan, the lesson can be understood by Bechinas Reishim Shenishar Bechalal in the Reishim, which means the leftover that's left in the apparent empty space. Of course, it's not empty. Umokum Pani, the place. Chalal means it's like a black hole. Umokum Pani, empty space canal. But it's not an actual black hole. This is everything is just in concept at this point in time. Shehu Yud the Sag Shebetehira Ilah. Wow. He's saying that we've learned before that there's basically the code, the programming code is basically God's name could be spelled in 4 different ways, at least 4 different ways. And when you organize that spelling in 4 different ways, that becomes the programming to create the world. In other words, everything's created from the same basic stuff, even on a spiritual level, like the stuff, I mean, material, right? It's made from the world is made from one thing. And basically, when we spell, there's 4 ways of spelling God's name, and you basically expand it. Instead of a yud just being the letter yud, you write it out, and that becomes 3 letters, yud vav dalet. But then you start spelling out the hey. You could spell the hey double hey, or hey aleph, or hey yud. You see, there's different ways of spelling. So if we spell it one way and it becomes the numerical numbers. Now every letter has a number. So if you add up the numbers, it ends up becoming sag, which is 63. And it is sag really is it's the creator, but the focus of sag is comprehension. It's not insight, it's comprehension. So it's the second form of spelling God's name. And the first letter in this spelling is of course Yud, but it's the Yud of the name. The way when it's spelled out, it ends up mathematically being 63. Shebetihira Elah, which is actually before Tzimtzum. So everything exists before Tzimtzum in potential. And a big focus of Sag is communication, of interface. In other words, in creation, we need to create interface in which the creations should be able to somehow communicate and connect with before the creation. And that's the name of God with an Sag, with a numerical value of 63. And basically the first letter has everything that's going to happen afterwards hidden in it. So that's the Yud. That's the small little, it's like a dot. That first letter, and that's what the Rishima is. So why is this useful? Is if you're going to learn other Kabbalah texts, other Hasidic texts, you will know that the Yud of Sag in the higher purity, is also the Rishimu. It's the same thing. Shubachines Hiuli Kailo. Now let's give some understanding to this. Shubachines Hiuli Kailo Kol Mashim Nistatzav Meno. There's a potential for everything that's going to be branched out from him, from this Yud of Sag, through the ruler and string. The string creates a beginning, middle, and end. And even though the general light of the essence becomes like absorbed into itself, it's hidden. That the only thing that is apparent is this Rishimu, which is the Yud of Sag. Im kol zeh, nevertheless, the truth is everything of the future creation is included in this dot, in short. And it's through specifically this contraction which causes it, the whole in essence, sort of to be hidden inside this little dot. And the fact that a dot shows on a lack of expansion to below, this is not a proper complete contraction. The reason why it's a dot is because it's a potential power. Canal, like we've mentioned, it's a potential power. It's like a paintbrush, and the top of a paintbrush is just makes one little dot. However, this power that's in this Rishimu is really the power to limit light, Harishin, to limit the original light, at least in our perception. That is why it doesn't spread out, only in a line first. According to the line is going to be according to the type of energy that we need to create the world. However, it's understood from above. The kav zeh yesh by mekach harishin. This ruler really has and is being conducted by the original light, shilifnei tzimtzum, that is before the tzimtzum, before the contraction. B'chinas ein seif mamish. This kav actually is being powered by real unlimited, real infiniteness. The only reason is it comes into a ruler is in order that the receivers should be able to handle it. Now it's going to be understood, this the verse that we say, with your light we see light. Now this is significant because people say this when they're putting on the four-cornered prayer garment. When they put it on, one of the prayer that they say, the prayer that they say includes this statement, with your light I will see light. In other words, your light refers to the light of the essence, which we don't see. Nira we will see light. That means the light of the creation. And through the light of the creation that we actually see and perceive, that is giving us an ability to have a connection with Urcha, God's essential light, which we don't see. Bechinas hara, the hara, shnikar urshal tulda. Now, the type of light that we do see is a shine of a shine, which is called the light of that's a reborn light, Like we said before, like the metaphor that you have a big fire that heats up a metal curtain, and then the metal curtain starts to give light. And so it's really the original fire. We don't see the original fire, but the light of the metal curtain is shining only because of the original light. That's called Urshal Tul, the light that's like born. Shachat Tzimtzum, that is born after the construction, derech kav ba'alma, and the light has a breakthrough. There's a breakthrough light, but it's only this line However, this line, this ruler, comes from the essential light, being that in this logo, everything is hidden in the logo, and from that comes the ruler. Hashefa is a potential for any delivery of sustenance. To create the idea of above and below, because before Tzimtzum there is no above and below. In order to create, you have to create it. Al-Kapanim, like we said, Al-Kapanim means on all faces. Like it's written in the Kabbalah Sefer of the student of Darizal called the Tree of Life. So from this reason, we understand the answer to two opposite things that we see, shenim sabakav, that we find in the ruler, in this ruler. One of the powers that the ruler is able to do is able to unite right and left, to create a balance between, left and right. There are two emotions. Left is the idea of pushing things away, and Yamina is bringing something close. They are opposite. However, with intelligence, you can balance both of them to create something useful. So who is balancing them together? Who is putting them together? That's the kav. It has this ability to balance the very opposite emotions. Because the ruler is able to make everybody unite. Is able to unite all the different types of lights, energies, that come from the crown of Adam Kadmon ad Malchus Atzilus, to the expression of the world of Atzilus. And let's just unpack that. After Kav comes Adam Kadmon, which is the first man. In other words, after God creates a programming language, he creates a character, which is the Adam Kadmon, the original man. And really, the original man has all the souls of humanity inside him. So it's basically our story, the story of all of humanity, that is all in the original Adam. And this ruler, it says it goes to the expression of Atzilus. The expression of Atzilus is basically God speaking, which actually creates the world. So till the Malchus Atzilus is there's only programming. But after Malchus Atzilus, we're actually creating. So, and the Kav, we say that the ruler goes through, the next level after the Kav is the Adam Kadmon, the original man, and it goes all the way down till establishing the personality of God as he's going to be understood by the creations, until that is expressed, and it measures everything out. And it also can unite opposite emotions, and specifically using the Kav, the ruler, you're able to put a light in a vessel that's not it. What do we mean by that? So a vessel is like a behavior, and a light is like the intent. So the Kav is able to make something interesting, like a light of kindness. In other words, the intent is to give kindness. The end state is kindness. In a vessel of gvura. Vessel is like a cup. But what do you mean a vessel? It means a behavior of gvura. So a person can, using the Kav, they can say, well, our intent is to cause kindness, but the behavior will be strictness, and that's gonna get to the end state of kindness. So we see kindness and strictness working together. What makes them work together? This higher energy, this ruler. Like it's explained in another place at length. Vav de when we're explaining the vav, the letter vav is shaped like a nail, right? In the word vanera, Rabbi, can we for a second go to like Chabad.org and look up a siddur on the first blessing of the Shemona Esrei, because I want everybody to see what's going on over here, because when a person prays, they could actually one of the few places that they need to know the meaning of is what we say. There's one line in the Ashrei in the 145th Psalm. We have to know what it means in order to fulfill our obligation in prayer. It means he opens up his hands and fills up the will of all creations, right? Rabbi, do we have the siddur?
Yes, I'm working on it right now.
Okay, great, right.
Where do you want to be?
In Shemona Esrei, the beginning of Shemona Esrei.
Okay, like the first bracha?
Yes. And we have to know, Hero of Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. We need to know the meaning of that. And we need to know the meaning of the first blessing of the special prayer called the 18 blessings. It's actually 19, but we won't go into that now. But
So which one do you want to look at first?
The first one, the first blessing of the Shemona Esrei. So Va'anera means awesome, right? And the or were some depends on which tradition of pronunciation. So sometimes the vav is actually a wav, wow. So some people would say Wahanera. That's from the Eastern countries, and in Europe you say Vahanera. Okay, let's go. Okay, now let's look at this. Look at this. We say, blessed are you, God, our God, the Almighty and the Almighty of our forefathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and you see, the Elokei Yaakov, the God of Yaakov. That's because Abraham, he was a vessel for kindness, and Yitzchak is a vessel for the focus on the opposite emotion, and Yaakov is an intermediary which has both emotions inside him. He learned from his grandfather and he learned from his father. So it says Velekei Yaakov, and the God. The Vav shows on an energy that's coming all the way up from way high to all the way down creation. Now we're going to see this again. Hakel Hakel means the God. It refers to God as being a kindness. Hagodol. Now, so the God Hagodol, Godol refers to him great. Now, great is great kindness. It's the emotion of like Abraham. Hagiber. Giber sounds in English like the giver, but it's a warrior. It's like a warrior. It shows on focus. It shows on the opposite emotion of strictness. And look at this, Vehanora, and awesome, and the awesome. That refers to the emotion, which is a synthesis of both Godel, great kindness, and Giber, being a warrior, being focused. A synthesis of both emotions is Naira, which is awesome, which means awesome, and the Vav shows on the Kav. That's what we're learning about, on the ruler. But this ruler allows us to ride all the way up because of creation, because the synthesis of both emotions has to come from a high level. Because when you have like two powers, what's going to synthesize both powers when there's something much higher than both of them? So basically what you're doing in Shemona Esrei is you're going up levels. You've got Avanera. Kel El Yain refers like to the essence of God, because we just wrote up the Kav. we went to the emotion of awesomeness, which is a higher than the other emotions, and then we're going like to the essence of God. Now, from then on, from here on, the energy starts going down, because every day there's new energy. So now we basically, when we go to Kel Elyon, the Kel Elyon, which is God that's very high, now new energy from this point in time comes down to power the day. So Gomel Chasadim Tevim, he bestows good kindness. So the energy is going down. Kanei Akol, he acquires everything, and he's almost about to. Now the next one is he goes into Atzilus. V'zoicher chastei avos. He remembers the kindness of the forefathers. We're already in Atzilus, and the forefathers, like our intellect, our driving intellect. Umevi Goel, and then he brings a redeemer, Livnei V'neihem, to the grandchildren. So the children of the intellect is the three emotions of kindness, strictness, and synthesis, which is beauty. But Livnei V'neihem is grandchildren, which is a hint to the lower emotions of victory, of courage, hoid, recognizing truth, and attachment, which you need for social skills. So the energy now went to the external three emotions, Laman Shemay, for the sake of his name. So then it goes to the 10th emotion, Natzilus, which that's the God's name, which now that's going to create the world. Be'ava, everything is with love, because God loves His creation and the people, and the energy comes down every day. And then the next word we say Melech. We jump Melech Ozer. Melech Ozer, the king that helps. Umeshia Omagin, 4 words. Melech, which is the Malchus of Atzilus, and now the creation starts. So it's God speaking now. It goes into the actual creation. Ozer, he helps. That means he helps our brains. That's the world of Bria. Umeshia, he saves. That's the world of the emotions, the world of Yetzirah, to save. Umagain, and he protects. That's in the world of action. We need to protect that the too much energy doesn't go to the bad people. So he protects. Umagain is a shield. That too much energy shouldn't go to the, this is Abraham's blessing, but we still have to, Abraham's kind to all, but we still need to protect that too much energy doesn't go to the bad people, that don't take over, God forbid. And then we say, Baruch Atah Hashem, blessed are you, the essence. When we say you, we refer to the essence of God, Hashem, as our master, and he brings the world into existence. Magin Avram, he protects Abraham. In other words, he protects the kindness of Abraham, that it shouldn't go to the bad people too much. Yet, in other words, the end state should be a real end state of kindness, because when you give too much kindness, the end state is not kindness. So we have to get to a good end state, and that is the inner workings of some of the inner workings of the first blessing, which is important that everybody knows what they mean, because it really encapsulates what's going on in prayer. The whole prayer, we're going up higher, higher, higher to connect to the essence, and at this point in prayer, that's when we make the flip. And from now on, the focus is to get energy down into the world. So in other words, from this prayer, this is where we get to the peak, and we come back down. Well, let's get back to the text. I just wanted to show everybody how to use what we're learning is really something very meaningful that we can use every day. So Va'anera means the awesome God. Va is like the kav, where we connect all the way back to the essence. Let's look back inside it, right at the end of the green. Base. And the second thing about the kav, which we're learning about, that vav, that letter vav, that line, nikra b'shem kav hamida. It's called a ruler to measure, dafka specifically to measure, limdai kol ervikli, to measure any light and vessel. In other words, creation, in the programming of creation, you have the intent, the kli, and you have the vessel. In other words, the behavior, the presentation. What you intend is the light, kli, vessel, is the presentation. So the kav needs to establish has to establish the intent and the presentation of every level. Canal, like we've mentioned this before. Binyan kav shenikra amas binyan. We said that a kav is also considered is like the ruler of a building, because we're going to measure creation. And when you're using a ruler to cut things out, it seems like it's the opposite of making peace between two energies. However, how do we resolve this conflict? The truth is both. The ruler is used to resolve conflicts, and it's used to cut and measure. In fact, these both abilities of resolving conflict and cutting and measuring, um, is dependent on each other. The only way you can't do one without the other. Mishum the sherish ze'akav makayach harishon, because the power, the source of this ruler is actually coming from the original power, the atmosphere of the essence of God. He's the moving the ruler. Shilfnei atzimtzum, before the energy comes before the tzimtzum, huba canal, it comes, like we've mentioned before. Be'inyan be'ercha dafka, with your essential light, what God decided in the light of His essence, dafka specifically, nira that's what we have, the presentation of the light that we see in the creation, the kavze of this ruler, and from the power of the essential, unlimited ability of God to do anything. That's what we mean, essential light. The Ein Sof, which is infinite. Vada yesh lases bechinas hiskalus. Definitely, the original light is able to make peace, because he's the artist. I mean, he can do anything that he wants. But that original light is able to make peace, to unify opposites, and to unify all the opposites, in all the chain order of creation, from the head of the first character, which is Adam, the original Adam, which includes all of our souls, of all of humanity, until it's an expression, until the expression of God's personality, which is the end of the programming stage of creation, because it's not actual creation. Like we say in the Zohar, in the Aramaic language, Antu, you are the one, the Meyachad line, that is able to unify all the energies, all the spheres. And you can tie them all together. And who milagav umalavar, you are on the inside and on the outside. It's the essence of God is on the inside and outside of every spiritual level. So we have to not get hung up about a spiritual level. We have to connect to the one which is making this spiritual level right here, who's inside and outside of this spiritual level. V'chein inyan shema milagav. And also it says in the same prayer, which we say on the Erev, the eve of Sabbath, if you look in a siddur, it says v'chein inyan shema, the name of God that's spelt in a way that ends up with a numerical value of 45, that's ma. Milagav is on the outside, on the inside of all the sfirot, of all that is on the inside of all the building blocks of creation. And basically that name of Ma is basically the highway of the entire Atzilus. The ability to become a highway that unifies all these various building blocks, that they should be one cohesive unit, to be able to put the opposites together It comes from the essence of the infinite. Shabakav that's in this ruler. It's not the ruler. You have to cancel out the ruler. You have to realize there's somebody moving the ruler. Let's go to the next page. And this energy goes down lower, but b'malchus sev kol dar b'malchus, in the level of God's leadership, kingship, sev kol dargos, which is the last, the end of all the levels in the programming of the creation. Via nisenes dafka, and because it goes through all the levels, that is the reason why that the ruler is able to measure an amount, and limit, make a border. So if you want to make a border, that's because he has a higher power, and he can measure any vessel and any lightened vessel. It means intent and expression and presentation. A vessel is a presentation. And any unification between a giver and receiver. I don't know. Like when the Chinese. There's these yin and yang, the male energy, the female energy, and all of creation is basically a male energy, which is giving, mashpia or makabel, and then there's the receiving energy, right? And basically, for anything to happen in the world, there needs to be a different type of unification between these two poles. So basically, the kav is measuring every single unification between the mashpia, the giver, umakabel, and the receiver. Mad uman. How much there should be mad uman. Very interesting. There needs to be a certain communication between the male and female, between the giver and the receiver energy. And so sometimes the unification is starts off with mad, which is the giver, the male energy, is the initiator, and that's called Maim Bechurim, male liquid, Umayim Nukvin. And sometimes it's the receiver initiates the interaction, and this is called female water. And this happens on a programming level. However, the metaphor that the Kabbalists choose is a physical intimacy, the biological aspects of female, male and female intimacy, and that is the translation of male water and female water. For example, the liquid in a female on like 7 days after the end of a period will basically shape itself, cling, that it becomes like a highway, that it allows the male water, like the semen, to slide down the highway. So now both of these waters are functioning cohesively in order to bring about a new soul to come into the world. And that's really physical. But all these things really exist on a spiritual level throughout every single level of creation. There is this interaction between who is the initiator and how much initiation are we going to have from the mashpia, the male energy, or makabel, or the female energy, because sometimes the female energy initiates. And all of this is mitzad bechinas harashimul. And this is possible. The cut, in other words, the limits are all because of the logo the logo has the power to limit all the light of the essence by fanim shenim in different ways. The way God established in the essence of the unlimited light, the infinite light before the original tzimtzum, which we learned about. That's because of the essential light that is hidden in the ruler. It is a hiyuli, a potential lichlel, to unify and to connect. Chaber means like friends, right? To connect esakol, to connect everything out, all the energies of mitzad kayach harishimoi, and because of the power of the logo, hamagbil shemei, the aspect of the logo that it's able to limit, magbil shir umida l'chol l'chol. It creates borders and a measurement and a sheer, an amount and a measurement to everything. Al derech oise bechines hashir harishon, and this is all because of the original measuring shnichnal bereshim uzu that was created before the tzimtzum, and it's somehow capsulated in this logo. Al derech mashal uman ha'oise rishon. This is like the metaphor of a artist that makes a mark that it's going to limit the way he's going to build what he's doing, like measure twice, cut once. So it's measured up according to the Rishimu. He makes that measurement. That everything should be exactly the way he decided. He decided ashir, the measurement ba'atme, in himself. That he shouldn't move left or right from his decision, original decision. Now, even though sometimes you see a little more energy than the actual ruler comes into the into Atzilus, and a little extra energy comes from the essence that God can do that. The essence of God, sometimes he will change the rules a little bit. Sometimes he'll give more light, less light. Sometimes like this he shines, sometimes that she shines. And that's why when there's anything new that happens in God's personality, in the world of intellect, in the world of emotions, of planning, and the world that we live in, Asiya, of action, everything that changes, that's because it changed in the essence of light before the contraction. Dafka, that's because from God's essential light, nira we will be able to perceive light bekav through the ruler, through this ruler. Sometimes a little more light, sometimes a little less light. In other words, we don't experience like transformation that would totally make no sense. It's like things get a little better. Sometimes you have a good day, sometimes a bad day. There's a certain base rate, and the kav allows for a certain leniency. There's a base rate, and there's a certain amount of leniency. In other words, it could move up and down, but it's going to stay close to the base rate. And all the changes of Partsufim is a Kabbalistic concept. When you have a bunch of spheres come together in a cohesive way, that it becomes like a personality. Ma'adam Kadmein, from the original man, original Adam, which is the first level after Kav, as Ekev the Adam Kadmein, and the heel of Adam Kadmein, in other words, the heel of this virtual man, is actually our world. We live in the heel of the virtual man. So the heel of Adam Kadmein, the heel of the original man, is B'Seif Asiya, at the end of Asiya. So we say the Kav, the ruler, finishes in Malchus of Atzilus. But Adam Kadma, the heel of the virtual man, finishes in the world that we live. And basically after, beyond the base rate of what's created through the Kav, there's little changes, right? There's a little more, less light, more light, less light. Mizman Beis Hamikdash Lizman. Whoa, where are we? Okay, from the times of the Beis Hamikdash Lizman Agalos, to the time of exile, which we are in now. In other words, when we were in in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, the base rate was, we were a little higher. We were doing better than the base rate of the Kav. That's what the Kav measured out. So therefore, things like the weather was better. I understand that the weather was better, that people were more capable. If you listen, if you follow the stories, you would say that their reflexes were better. I mean, I'll just give you an example. A regular person can juggle 3 fire sticks. I used to do a lot of many years ago. I used to do, like, for kids, juggling presentations for kids, and you start to learn how to work the crowd, and you understand everybody's sense of humor after while doing this. But it's really difficult to do that while trying to juggle 4 fire sticks, because that would mean you'd need to do 2 in 2 hands. But it's much easier if you do 3, because you only have 1 in the air at the same time. And that's, most people are capable of doing that if they practice. But doing 4 is already more of a challenge. And like the best people do 5, the best, and they can't do it for very long. And in the times of the temple, if you read the accounts, their base rate was like 4. And I'm thinking, and the great rabbis, their reflexes were like way better, way beyond. It would be like the best in the world. And how is this possible? That's because there was more energy coming down the Kav during the times of the Beis Hamikdash. I also understand that giving children that were born straight away, they were, like animals, when they come out of the mother, they can like run straight away. Well, humans that were born straight away, they already had much more capabilities than when babies are born now. They were able to walk like straight away during the times of the Beis Hamikdash. That's what I understand. That's because there was more energy. Okay, more spiritual energy was coming down. It was a little more than the base rate. And that's what happens in a general way. Now, why is this relevant? First of all, we want to have this redemption for the entire world. It's going to create something way beyond that what we imagine. It's not going to be like, oh, we're going to just like have like abundant food and no, there will be like more energy in the world. We will have capabilities which are beyond what we can imagine right now. And we can already ask for these changes now. Hare anu omrim, we say, in one of the highest prayers that you can possibly say is Yehir, if not the highest prayer, is Yehir Ratzon milfanecha. May it be the will from in front of you, right? This is a prayer. This is a very high prayer. May it be your will, milfanecha, from in front of you. And he explains, the Mittel Rebbe explains, milifnei atzmuscha, it should be in front of your essence. In other words, we want a change from your essence, and that way there will be more light going all the way down. Mamish. We pray from the essence of God. Really, in actuality, from the essence of God, we're praying higher than the 10 building blocks, the essential 10 building blocks that are in the essence. No, we want the essence itself higher than the 10 building blocks. We want to change God's a request, a change in the Hashem, what he decided in his essential light, the Ein Sof in his essence, because if we go to the essence, we can request a change. Love of Vishir, that he measured in a certain amount, sheshir ba'atzma, that he measured in himself, Atziyu makav, till the end of the ruler. But acher, we want the ruler to measure out things differently. We pray that the ruler, that God in his, the essence of God should measure the ruler differently than we are perceiving now. We are requesting God to change the measurement of the energies from judgment to kindness. We say, God, you in your essence can get to any end state. Why do we need to have a judgment end state? Let's make a judgment a judgment a presentation of judgment to get it to a good end state. God is in essence can do anything. He could make the presentation kind and the end state kind. So when we see judgment in the world, we say, Hiratem lefanecha. May your will in your essence on how much you're measuring the kav change, that even the presentation of what's going down should be kind. We should have an open and revealed kindness with our eyes. And similar things we request in this prayer, because when we go to the essence, we can request the change of the entire system. The canal, and like we've mentioned before, the safe ice hay in the end of the 5th chapter, how really every emotion is like on a scale, and one emotion is, one side of the seesaw affects the other side of the seesaw, so you can really achieve the similar thing with the other side of the seesaw. It says, I am God, I did not change. The essence of God does not change. Ben Ratzon Shel Chesed, when he wants kindness, Ledin, or when he desires to present with judgment. In the essential light before the essence, all possibilities are there. Nothing's off the table. In the essence, all possibilities are there. All emotions are there. So it's possible that God could present with a presentation of kindness to achieve the same goal. And we explain this in the 10th chapter, when God desired kindness in his essential potential, that is in his essence. We learned there are 3 levels in God's presentation of his essence before we actually start a specific creation. Go over there to learn in chapter 10. And then we expanded that, how that actually works in the 11th chapter. And we said, and it says, the rabbis say, do not pray to him, do not pray to his emotions. Medaver gam b'midosav, this refers even to God's emotions, ha'atzmim, which are in his essence. You have to bypass them also. Sheba'er atmos, which is in the light of the essence. Mipnei sha'atzmos deren tzev lav, because the essence itself, which is Ein Sof of the infinite light, lav mikol ilain mides klal, God is none of these. In our Aramaic, we have a saying, God is none of these emotions. He's beyond the emotions. So if we can mentally focus our mind and realize and cancel the emotions out, God's beyond the emotions. He has everything inside him. He's beyond the emotions. It could be he could change his will to have the same end state of kindness, but through a presentation of kindness. There's no problem for God to do that. He can figure it out. And that's what we say in the prayer on the before Sabbath, that God is able to unite the emotions. And we say ant, dafka, ant in Aramaic means you specifically. You specifically. Don't pray to his emotions, not to his essential emotions, only to him, the essence itself. And we say God is one, and it can't be divided into a mathematics of 10 spheres, of 10 building blocks. You have to bypass the building blocks of creation. to request a change. Specifically, it's the essence of the infinite light that we have the power to limit, Amida, to make measurements, which is in this Rishimu, in this logo. The logo does nothing. It's the essence which chooses to use the Rishimu as a tool, Shebekav, in the ruler, Shemach Mazeh Nikra Kav Amida, and that's why it's called the ruler. So the ruler really unites things. It's a connector. The Kav is a connector. However, the power of the Rishimu is the aspect of it, a cutter, a measurer. And we said that both measuring and connecting, they depend on each other because you can't do one without the other to build anything. Measure close, and it's explained in another place that the idea of kindness and strictness in the essence of the infinite light, infinite capabilities, which strictness is the power to limit, lahagbil, to create boundaries, v'lahalim, and to hide, ba'atzmusei, into himself, be'ilui achar ilui, one higher level after another. In other words, God can hide, means he can just go deeper and deeper infinitely, beyond that we can even imagine, Bishir, beyond any measurement. And this is the saying that we say, we hear God is the unlimited light, infinite light that goes higher infinitely, until there's no end. We can't imagine this, right? And then the light has an ability to spread lower and lower, to no end. Which is through a ruler, the ruler, which comes from the logo. So God can infinitely go deeper in himself, or can infinitely reveal himself more and more. And both abilities are really two sides of a seesaw. They are all in the infinite. So that even when the infinite light comes down into the ruler, into this ruler that we're speaking about, both abilities, that the idea to combine and to cut are equal abilities, to confine something, to limit it, to make boundaries, or to connect, and to make one. Also the different changes in the light, into how much light comes down, whether it's more or less. For example, time changes. What is the difference of time? What is time? Time is different emotions. So as different emotions are revealed from the essence of God, that creates the perception of time. Otherwise, what's the difference between this moment and the next? But not only that, there are times where little more energy comes down. For example, from the weekday to the seventh day. On the seventh day, there's a little more energy coming down. The Yom Tov, and a different type of energy comes down on a holy day. Like we just had the Yom Tov, like the holy days, the good days. And also there's a different energy in the times of the temple and the time of exile. The ability to change these things comes from one power that is exactly scale even, which is divided into two parts, kindness or strictness, which means either to reveal or to limit. It all comes from the power of the original light of the essence of the infinite, the way it is in his essence, the way this potential of being kind or strict or focused, kind and focused, are there in the essence. And this is what we said in the previous chapter 14, the kav l'gabei shetach, that a ruler for an area, A ruler is a potential which is able to measure out area to make two-dimensional. From a single dimension, you can get to two dimensions. So it goes dot, ruler, 2 dimensions, and then we go 3 dimensions, right? Al derech oiser and this is the light and the essential power in the essence of the giver. He's able to measure out space. But in the essence, the idea of creating space in the essence, it's in concept much greater. But when it comes down, like it's like more of a dream potential of a kavze, and in the ruler, this same power comes it comes in a contracted, limited way. Shefa, the energy is now limited in order to get to the right end state. And it's brought down to the receivers that they stay who they are without being without getting, what do we call, you have too much voltage, right? Not getting too much voltage without getting a fuse blown. See, we want more. When you have electricity, you have the wiring, it can handle a little more, and it's good to get more power. The air conditioner works more, but like too much more would like destroy the system. So we want more energy, but within a certain but we don't want the system to break. So that's the idea of praying to get more light down. Vim came gam bebechinas atzimtzum vispashtus shebei misham hu dafka. So even the limit, sometimes you need to limit the energy. It also comes misham, from there. Hu ba, it comes dafka, specifically vidal. And what we said now is enough for the understanding. So the dilemavin, it's enough for the understanding person. We've said enough. You can now think about this, repeat this information over, watch it again, and you'll be able to understand whatever's possible to understand as on your level as a human. And that's it. That's chapter 15, which is really amazing. And any questions? And I hope this has brought understandings for people on how the world works, at least the programming behind the world, how that really works. And then it helps us understand how prayers work.
Okay, excellent, Rabbi Chirik. I don't see any questions being asked at the moment, but I'm sure some will be asked later.
Yeah, it's more the intuitive chapter. Whenever this chapter started off with intuition, so it's more intuitive of what's actually going on in spirituality, and it's not like the metaphor. When you study metaphor, it's something concrete, but now it's more intuitive, and it's more like getting used to the information rather than comprehending it. With the previous chapters, comprehension is the focus.
Okay, great. Okay, anything else? We'll move on to the parsha.
We can move on to the parsha. It's a potential. Yeah, it's a potential a week. The way we are in this Sabbath, that's the way it's going to affect the entire year. We establish ourselves in this Sabbath, reminding that the creation is created from anew at every moment. So therefore, since creation is being created from the essence at every moment, therefore we remember this, we can think about it that the whole situation can be recreated to something totally different in any moment if we ask the right way. So it's a good theme for this week.
Great. Absolutely. I'm going to pause the recording here.